I was standing in my kitchen when I heard the truck pull up. Not just any truck. A big U-Haul, the kind people use when they're moving out of a whole house. My heart started beating fast, but I didn't know why yet. Not until I saw my son Terrence climbing out of the driver's seat. His wife Shanice was right behind him, that smile on her face that never reached her eyes. "Mama," Terrence called out as he walked up my front steps. "We need to talk." I wiped my hands on my apron. I'd been making my famous peach cobbler, the one Terrence used to beg me for every Sunday after church. "Come on in, baby. You hungry? We're not here to eat, Mama." He wouldn't look at me, just kept staring at his shoes like he used to do when he was 7 years old and had broken something. Shanice pushed past him and walked into my living room like she owned it. She started looking around, pointing at things. My refrigerator, my stove, my washing machine, even my television, the one I'd saved up for 3 years to buy. "This will fit," she said to Terrence. "And that. We'll need help with the fridge, but we can manage the microwave ourselves." I felt like someone had dumped ice water over my head. "What are you talking about?" That's when Terrence finally looked at me. My baby boy. The child I'd worked 3 jobs to raise after his daddy left us when he was just 2 years old. The boy I'd given everything to. "Mama, we're taking the appliances. We need them more than you do." I couldn't breathe. "What do you mean you're taking? These are mine, Terrence. I paid for every single—" "You're old, Mama." Shanice cut me off, examining my coffee maker like it was something in a store. "You don't need all this stuff. We got 2 kids to raise. You live here all by yourself in this big house with all these nice things, and we're struggling." "Struggling?" My voice came out like a whisper. "Baby, didn't I just give you $5,000 last month when you said you needed help with the mortgage?" Terrence wouldn't meet my eyes. "That money's gone, Mama. We got bills. Jordan needs braces. We got car payments." "So you're going to rob your own mother?" The words felt like broken glass in my throat. "It's not robbery," Shanice snapped. "You should want to help your son. What kind of mother are you, after everything he's done for you?" Everything he'd done for me? I'd raised that boy alone. I'd worked as a nursing assistant during the day, cleaned offices at night, and did hair on the weekends just to keep food on the table and clothes on his back. I'd missed sleep. I'd missed meals. I'd missed out on my own life to make sure he had everything he needed. I'd paid for his college when he decided he wanted to go. I'd helped with the down payment on his first house. I'd been there for every single thing he'd ever needed. And this was my thank you. Before I could say anything else, Shanice waved toward the door. "Come on, baby. Let's start loading up before it gets dark." I watched them like I was in a nightmare. Terrence and 2 men I'd never seen before walked into my house and started unplugging things. My refrigerator, the one that still had the pictures of Jordan's school photos stuck to it with magnets. My stove, where I'd cooked 1,000 Sunday dinners, where I'd made Terrence's favorite meals when he was sick or sad or celebrating something good. "Please," I begged. "Terrence, baby, please don't do this. How am I supposed to cook? How am I supposed to keep my food cold?" He just kept working, wouldn't look at me. Shanice answered instead. "You can get a hot plate from the dollar store, and there's a convenience store 2 blocks away. You'll figure it out." They took everything. The refrigerator, the stove, the microwave, the washing machine and dryer from my little laundry room. They even took my toaster oven and my coffee maker. Shanice walked through my house like a shopping spree, pointing at this and that. My good mixer, the one I'd used to make cakes for Jordan's birthdays, my air fryer, my slow cooker. "Wait," I said when she reached for the slow cooker. "That was a gift from your mama. She gave it to me last Christmas. She said, 'My mama's got dementia, Evelyn. She doesn't remember giving you anything. And we can use it more than you can.'" The way Shanice said my name, not Mama Evelyn like she used to, felt like a slap. I tried to hold on to that slow cooker, but one of the men just took it from my hands. Gentle, but firm. Like I was a child throwing a tantrum. The whole time I kept thinking this couldn't be real. My son wouldn't do this to me. Not my Terrence. Not my baby. But he did. It took them 2 hours to empty my house. When they were done, my kitchen looked like a crime scene. Empty spaces where my appliances used to be, unplugged cords hanging loose from the walls. My laundry room was just an empty shell. Even my living room looked wrong without the nice TV I'd worked overtime for. Terrence stood at my front door, finally looking at me. "Mama, I'm sorry. We just really need these things right now. You understand, don't you?" "No," I said. "I don't understand. I don't understand how my own son could do this to me." He flinched like I'd hit him. Good. "We'll come back and visit soon, I promise." But I knew that promise was empty. Shanice was already in the truck, checking her phone, ready to go, ready to take my whole life away in the back of a U-Haul. "What about Jordan?" I asked. "What did you tell him about why he can't come see his grandma anymore?" Because I knew that's what would happen. Shanice had been pulling Terrence away from me for years now. First, it was missing Sunday dinners. Then it was canceling holiday visits. Then it was, we're too busy every time I asked to see my grandson. This was just the final cut. "Jordan's fine, Mama. Don't you worry about Jordan." They drove away. I stood on my front porch and watched that truck disappear down my street, taking everything I owned that made my house feel like a home. Before we continue, please comment below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to help us hit that big 1,000 subscriber milestone. I went back inside and the silence was so loud it hurt. I walked to my kitchen and just stared at the empty spaces. No refrigerator humming, no clock on the microwave glowing with the time. Just nothing. I opened my refrigerator, the space where my refrigerator used to be, and remembered all the food I'd just bought. A whole chicken I was going to roast for dinner. Fresh vegetables from the farmer's market. Milk, eggs, butter. All of it was gone, loaded into that truck along with the fridge itself. They'd taken my food too. I sank down onto my kitchen floor and cried. Not pretty crying. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep and dark, the kind that makes your whole body shake. I cried for everything I'd lost. Not just the appliances. I cried for my son, for the little boy who used to hold my hand and tell me I was the best mama in the whole world, for the teenager who promised he'd take care of me when I got old, for the man I thought he'd become. That man was gone. Or maybe he'd never existed at all. I don't know how long I sat there on that cold floor. It was getting dark outside when I finally pulled myself up. My knees hurt. My back hurt. Everything hurt. I walked through my empty house room by room, looking at what they'd left behind. They'd taken anything valuable, anything useful. But they'd left the pictures on the walls. Pictures of Terrence as a baby. Terrence at his high school graduation. Terrence's wedding, where I'd worn my best dress and cried happy tears because I thought my baby had found someone who would love him and help him be a good man. I'd been so wrong about Shanice. I made my way to my bedroom and sat on my bed. At least they hadn't taken my bed, or my clothes. Just everything that made life livable. My phone rang. For one stupid second, I hoped it was Terrence calling to say he was sorry, that he was bringing everything back, that he didn't know what he was thinking. But it was my friend Loretta from church. "Evelyn, you okay, honey? I drove past your house earlier and saw that big truck outside. You moving or something?" I couldn't talk. The words wouldn't come. "Evelyn, baby, what's wrong? You're scaring me." "They took everything, Loretta." My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Someone old and broken and used up. Terrence and Shanice. They came with a truck and took all my appliances. They took everything. Silence on the other end. Then, "I'm coming over. Don't you move. I'll be there in 10 minutes. She hung up before I could tell her not to bother, that there was nothing she could do, that it was over. I lay back on my bed and stared at the ceiling. 73 years old. That's how old I was. I'd lived through so much. I'd survived my mama dying when I was 16. I'd survived a husband who walked out and never looked back. I'd survived being poor and tired and alone. I'd survived because I had a reason, because I had Terrence to raise, a son to love, a future to believe in. But now? What did I have now? Nothing. That's what they'd left me with. Nothing. Loretta showed up with grocery bags full of food and a hot plate she'd bought from the store on her way over. She took one look at my empty kitchen and started crying herself. "That boy," she said, shaking her head. "I never thought. I know Shanice has had him twisted up for years, but this is evil, Evelyn. This is pure evil." She set up the hot plate on my counter and started making me something to eat. Soup from a can, heated up on that little single burner. It tasted like cardboard, but I ate it because Loretta was watching me like a hawk. "You need to call the police," she said. "This is theft. They can't just come take your things like that." "He's my son, Loretta. I can't send my own son to jail." "That boy just robbed you blind." She was getting worked up now, pacing my empty kitchen. "You worked yourself half to death raising him, and this is how he repays you? No, ma'am. This ain't right." What good would it do? I was so tired. They'd just say I gave them permission, that it was a family matter. You know how it goes. Loretta looked at me hard. "So you're just going to let them get away with it? You're going to sit here in this empty house and starve?" "What else can I do? I'm just an old woman. I don't have any power. I don't have any rights. Apparently, I don't even have a son anymore." "You've got more fight in you than that, Evelyn. I know you do. You didn't raise that boy alone by giving up when things got hard." But I was already giving up. I could feel it happening. Like something inside me was just switching off. Loretta stayed until late, trying to get me to eat more, trying to get me to make plans, trying to get me to be angry instead of defeated. But when she finally left, promising to come back first thing in the morning, I just went to bed. I lay there in the dark, listening to the silence where my refrigerator should have been humming, thinking about all the years I'd wasted, all the sacrifice for nothing, all the love thrown away like garbage. I must have finally fallen asleep because I woke up to someone knocking on my door. Hard, urgent. I looked at the clock. No, wait, they'd taken the clock too. I looked outside. The sun was up, but barely. Early morning. The knocking came again, louder. I pulled myself out of bed, wrapped my robe around me, and shuffled to the front door. Through the peephole, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. Young, professional-looking, holding a folder. "Mrs. Evelyn Porter?" she called through the door. "Who's asking?" My voice was rough from crying. "My name is Diana Shaw. I'm an attorney. I have some very important information about an inheritance. Please, Mrs. Porter, I've been trying to track you down for weeks. This can't wait any longer." Inheritance. The only family I had left was my sister Ruby, and she'd died 5 years ago. There wasn't anything to inherit. This had to be some kind of scam. But something. Maybe just curiosity, maybe just the fact that I had nothing else to lose, made me open that door. The woman's eyes widened when she saw me. I must have looked like death itself. "Mrs. Porter, may I come in? What I have to tell you is going to change everything." I let her in, too tired to argue. She walked into my empty living room and stopped cold. "Mrs. Porter, where is all your furniture? Your appliances?" "Gone," I said flatly. "My son took them yesterday. Said he needed them more than I did." Something flickered across her face. Anger, maybe. Or pity. "Mrs. Porter, I need you to sit down. What I'm about to tell you is quite shocking." I sat on my couch, one of the few things they'd left because it was old and worn. "Lady, I don't think anything can shock me anymore." She opened her folder and pulled out a document. Do you know a man named William Howard? The name hit me like lightning. William. Billy Howard. My first love. The boy I'd planned to marry before life took us in different directions. Before he moved to New York to take some big job, and I stayed here and met Terrence's father, and everything went wrong. I knew him, I whispered. A long time ago. We were going to get married once, but that was over 50 years ago. Why? Diana Shaw looked at me with something like wonder. Mrs. Porter, William Howard never married. He became a very successful businessman in New York. And when he died 6 months ago, he left everything to you. His entire estate. The room started spinning. What? He never forgot you, Mrs. Porter. He left a letter. Would you like me to read it? I couldn't speak, could only nod. She pulled out an envelope, old, yellowed, but sealed. She opened it carefully and began to read. My dearest Evelyn, if you're hearing this, then I've finally run out of time. I've thought about you every single day for 53 years. I know I was a coward for leaving. I know I should have fought harder for us. But I want you to know that no matter how successful I became, no matter what I built or achieved, none of it meant anything without you. I never married because I never stopped loving you. Everything I have, everything I am, I leave to you. My only regret is that I didn't have the courage to come back sooner. Please forgive me, and please accept this as proof that you were loved. Truly, deeply, completely loved. Every single day. Yours always, Billy. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. 53 years. He'd spent 53 years thinking of me? How much? The words came out strangled. How much did he leave? Diana Shaw looked me straight in the eye. Approximately $47 million, Mrs. Porter. You're a very wealthy woman. The world went black around the edges. The last thing I remember before I fainted was thinking, Terrence has no idea what he just did. I woke up on my couch with Loretta fanning me and Diana Shaw on the phone calling for an ambulance. No ambulance, I croaked. I'm fine, Did she really say $47 million? Loretta's hand stopped mid-fan. Say what now? Diana Shaw knelt beside me. Yes, Mrs. Porter, $47 million, plus properties in New York and Connecticut, stock portfolios, and a trust fund that's been growing for decades. I looked at Loretta. Her mouth was hanging open. There's more, Diana continued. Mr. Howard was very specific in his will. He wanted to make sure you were protected. He set up the inheritance in a way that makes it completely separate from any family claims. Your son or anyone else cannot touch this money. It's yours and yours alone. Something shifted inside me, like a door that had been locked for years suddenly swinging open. I sat up slowly. When can I access it? As soon as you sign the paperwork. I can have the initial transfer done within 48 hours. A few million to start, while we work through the full estate. Loretta found her voice. Evelyn, baby, are you understanding what's happening here? You're rich. You're really, really rich. I understood. But more than that, I understood something else. For the first time in my entire life, I had power. Real power. Not the power that comes from sacrificing and giving and loving until there's nothing left. The power that comes from having choices. I need you to do something for me, I said to Diana. I need you to keep this completely secret. Nobody can know. Not yet. Diana smiled. It was the smile of someone who understood exactly what I was thinking. Of course, Mrs. Porter. Attorney-client privilege. Your son took advantage of you yesterday, didn't he? He did worse than that. He broke my heart. Then let's make sure he doesn't get the chance to do it again. Over the next 3 days, Diana worked fast. She had papers delivered to my house at night. She set up bank accounts under her office address so no mail would come to my house. She was like a guardian angel in a business suit. Loretta became my co-conspirator. She brought me a mini fridge to hold me over. Just until you're ready to reveal your hand, she said with a wink. She also told everyone at church that I was going through something and needed privacy. Our church family respected that. Nobody bothered me, but I knew they were praying. I could feel it. On day 4, Terrence came back. I was sitting in my empty living room when I heard his car pull up. No truck this time, just him and Shanice in their sedan. They knocked like they were doing me a favor by using the door. "Hey, Mama," Terrence said when I opened it. He was trying to smile, trying to act like everything was normal. "We came to check on you, see how you're doing." "How do you think I'm doing?" I kept my voice flat, emotionless. Shanice pushed past him. She walked into my kitchen and looked around like she was inspecting her work. "You got a hot plate. Good. See, I told you you'd figure it out. What do you want?" "Terrence?" He had the grace to look uncomfortable. "Well, Mama, the thing is, we still got some bills we're dealing with, and I was thinking, you got this big house all to yourself. Have you ever thought about downsizing? Maybe moving into a nice little apartment? One of those senior living places?" There it was. They didn't just want my appliances. They wanted my house. "You want me to sell my house?" I said it like a statement, not a question. "Not sell it to just anybody," Shanice jumped in. "Sell it to us. We'll give you a fair price." "Well, fair enough. And you can use that money to get yourself situated somewhere smaller, somewhere more appropriate for a woman your age." Appropriate. I tasted the word. It was bitter. "Come on, Mama. You know it makes sense." Terrence was using his pleading voice. The one that used to work when he was little and wanted something. "This house is too big for you. All these stairs, all this maintenance, and we need the space. Jordan's getting bigger. We could use the extra bedrooms." "What would you give me for it?" I asked quietly. Shanice's eyes lit up. She thought she'd won. "We were thinking, 50,000? That's more than generous for a house this old." My house was worth at least 300,000, probably more. They weren't just trying to rob me. They were trying to steal my entire life. "I need to think about it," I said. "What's there to think about?" Shanice's voice got sharp. "We're offering you a way out, unless you want to be stubborn and end up losing everything anyway. What are you going to do when you can't afford the bills, when you can't take care of yourself? You should be grateful we're willing to help." "Get out of my house." Terrence blinked. "Mama," I said, "get out. Both of you. Now." "You're making a mistake," Shanice hissed. "You're going to end up alone and broke, and don't come crying to us when— Out!" They left, but I knew they'd be back. People like Shanice didn't give up when they smelled blood in the water. I called Diana as soon as their car disappeared. "I'm ready. Let's do this." "Are you sure?" I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The next morning, Diana arrived with 2 police officers and another man in a suit who she introduced as Detective Morrison. "Mrs. Porter has decided to press charges," Diana announced. "Elder abuse, theft, and attempted fraud." Within an hour, we were at the police station. I gave my statement. Everything. How they'd taken my appliances without permission, how they'd pressured me, how they were trying to force me to sell my house for a fraction of its worth. "The thing about elder abuse cases," Detective Morrison told me, "is that they're taken very seriously in this state. Your son and daughter-in-law could face serious prison time. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about my empty kitchen, about sitting on that cold floor crying, about 50 years of sacrifice being repaid with cruelty. "Yes," I said. "I'm prepared." They arrested Terrence and Shanice that afternoon, right in front of their house with all the neighbors watching. I wasn't there to see it, but Loretta's cousin Denise lived on their street and she called to give me every detail. "Shanice was screaming bloody murder," Denise reported gleefully. "Talking about how you're a vindictive old woman who's lying on them. But Terrence? Honey, He looked like he wanted to die. Good. The preliminary hearing was set for 2 weeks later. Diana prepared me for everything. They're going to try to make you look incompetent, she warned. They'll say you gave them permission, that you're confused, old. They'll paint themselves as the victims. Let them try. The courtroom was small but packed. Loretta was there, along with half my church, Pastor Richards, Sister May, even some of the young mothers I used to babysit for. They'd all come to support me. Terrence and Shanice sat on the other side with their lawyer, some slick-looking man in an expensive suit that they definitely couldn't afford. Probably using my $5,000 to pay him, I thought bitterly. Their lawyer stood up first. Your Honor, this is a tragic misunderstanding. My clients were simply trying to help Mrs. Porter. She's elderly, confused, and living alone in a house she can barely maintain. They took some old appliances that she couldn't use properly anyway. Objection, Diana cut in smoothly. Mrs. Porter is 73, not senile. She worked as a nursing assistant for 40 years and only retired 5 years ago. She's in full possession of her faculties and was quite clear that she did not give permission for her belongings to be removed. The judge, a stern-looking black woman in her 60s, looked at me over her glasses. Mrs. Porter, can you tell the court what happened? I stood up. My voice shook at first, but then it got stronger. I told them everything, about working 3 jobs to raise Terrence alone, about the $5,000 I'd just given them, about how they'd showed up with a truck and stripped my house bare while I begged them to stop, about how they'd come back demanding I sell them my house for $50,000. Your Honor, I said, looking right at Terrence, I loved that boy more than my own life. I gave him everything, and he repaid me by treating me like trash he could just throw away when I wasn't useful anymore. Terrence wouldn't look at me, but Shanice was staring daggers. Their lawyer tried to spin it, said I was exaggerating, said the appliances were old anyway, said that children shouldn't be punished for trying to better their lives. Then Diana stood up. Your Honor, I'd like to submit evidence of a pattern of financial abuse. She presented bank statements showing the $5,000 I'd given them, statements going back 5 years showing dozens of loans that were never repaid, text messages from Shanice demanding money, threatening to keep Jordan away if I didn't comply. I hadn't even known Diana had found all that. But she had. She'd built an entire case. The judge's face got harder with each piece of evidence. Mrs. Porter, she said finally, I'm granting a restraining order. Your son and daughter-in-law are not to come within 500 feet of you or your property. They have 72 hours to return every item they took in working condition, or they will face criminal theft charges in addition to the elder abuse charges. Your Honor, their lawyer started. I'm not finished. Furthermore, I'm ordering a full investigation into their finances. If Mrs. Porter's money was used to pay for your fee, counselor, you might want to consider returning it. Shanice exploded. This is ridiculous. She's just a bitter old woman who's jealous that we have a good life. She can't stand to see us happy. Mrs. Williams, the judge's voice was ice cold. You will control yourself in my courtroom or I will hold you in contempt. Do you understand? Shanice's lawyer grabbed her arm and pulled her back down. Mrs. Porter, the judge continued, her voice softer now, I'm sorry this happened to you. No mother should be treated this way. This court finds clear evidence of elder abuse and financial exploitation. The criminal case will proceed. Do you have somewhere safe to stay while we sort this out? I'm staying in my home. Your Honor, I'm not going anywhere. The judge smiled, just a little. Good. Bailiff, we're adjourned. As we filed out of the courtroom, Terrence finally looked at me. His eyes were red. He looked like he wanted to say something, but Shanice yanked him away, still muttering about how this was all a big mistake, how I'd pay for this, how she'd make sure I never saw Jordan again. That last threat hit hard. Jordan, my grandson, the innocent child in all this mess. Don't worry, Diana said, reading my mind. We'll handle that too. 3 days later, a different truck pulled up to my house. This time, it was a moving company, one that Diana had hired. They unloaded every single appliance that Terrence and Shanice had taken. Not just unloaded, they installed everything, plugged it all back in, made sure it all worked. My house felt like home again, but I still wasn't done. I want to set up a trust fund for Jordan, I told Diana. Something his parents can't touch, for his college, his future, whatever he needs. Can you do that? Of course. How much were you thinking? $5 million. Diana didn't even blink. Done. But Mrs. Porter, there's something else you should know. Child Protective Services contacted me. Apparently someone reported concerns about Jordan's welfare, the fact that his parents were using him as leverage to extort money from his grandmother. Who reported it? Your pastor, Pastor Richards. He said the church has a responsibility to protect children, even when it's uncomfortable. I called Pastor Richards that night. Thank you, I said simply. Sister Evelyn, that boy needs his grandmother. And those parents need a wake-up call before they destroy that child along with everything else. CPS did investigate. They didn't take Jordan away. There was no abuse, just bad judgment. But they did mandate family counseling and gave me official visitation rights. Shanice couldn't keep my grandson from me anymore, no matter what she wanted. The first time I saw Jordan after everything happened, he ran straight into my arms. Grandma, I missed you so much. Mama said you were sick, but I knew she was lying. Are you okay? Did you get new stuff for your house? I'm okay, baby. I'm better than okay. I got all my stuff back. Good. Mama said we needed it more, but that's not true. That's stealing. We learned about stealing in school. It's wrong. Out of the mouths of babes. Over the next few months, things changed. Terrence and Shanice pleaded guilty to reduced charges, misdemeanor theft and elder exploitation. They got probation, community service, and mandatory counseling. More importantly, they had to pay restitution. Every penny they'd ever borrowed from me. It would take them years. I didn't tell them about the inheritance. That was my secret, mine and Diana's and Loretta's. Let them think I was just a stubborn old woman who'd gotten lucky with a good lawyer. But I did use my money. Oh yes, I did. I paid off my house completely. I set up trust funds not just for Jordan, but for every single grandchild in my church who needed help with college. I donated to the food bank, the women's shelter, the youth programs. I did it all anonymously, through Diana's office. You're like a secret superhero, Loretta said one Sunday after church, watching me smile at the announcement about the new community center that was being built with an anonymous donation. I'm just an old woman who got a second chance, I said. Billy gave me more than money. He gave me the power to choose my own life. 6 months after everything happened, I got a letter. From Terrence. A real letter, handwritten, not a text or an email. Dear Mama, it started. I don't know if you'll even read this. I wouldn't blame you if you threw it away. But I need to say this anyway. I was wrong. Not just wrong. I was cruel. I was selfish. I let Shanice convince me that you owed us something, that we deserved what you had worked for. But the truth is, you never owed me anything. You gave me everything already. You gave me life. You gave me love. You gave me every chance. And I threw it all away because I was too weak to stand up to my wife and too greedy to see what I was doing. I'm in counseling now. Real counseling. Learning about financial abuse and manipulation and all the ways I hurt you. I'm learning that Shanice's problems became my problems, and I let them become your problems too. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, and I'm trying to be better. For Jordan, for myself. And if you ever want to give me a chance to prove it, I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I love you, Mama. I never stopped, even when I was being a monster. Your son, Terrence. I cried when I read that letter, but they were different tears than the ones I'd cried on my kitchen floor. These tears were for healing, not breaking. I wrote him back. Not a long letter, just, "I forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means we start over, slow, and you earn back what you lost. Come to Sunday dinner next week. Just you and Jordan. We'll talk." He came. He sat at my table, the one they'd left because it was too old and scratched up. He ate my pot roast and my cornbread. And he cried, really cried, the kind of crying that comes from deep down, from a place of real remorse. "I don't know how you can even look at me," he said, "because you're my son. That doesn't change just because you made terrible choices. But you need to understand something, Terrence. I'm not the same woman I was before all this happened. I'm not going to sacrifice myself for you anymore. I'm not going to enable you or bail you out or let you take advantage of me. Those days are over." "I understand, Mama. I really do." "Good. Now eat your dinner before it gets cold." Shanice and I would never have a relationship again. I'd accepted that. She'd shown me who she was, and I believed her. But Terrence was trying. Really trying. And Jordan, beautiful, innocent Jordan, got to have his grandmother back. On the 1-year anniversary of the day Billy Howard's lawyer knocked on my door, I finally did something I'd been planning for months. I flew to New York, first class because why not, and visited Billy's grave. I brought flowers, roses, pink ones, like the ones he used to pick from his mama's garden and bring to me when we were young. "Thank you, Billy," I said to the headstone. "Thank you for remembering me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for giving me the power to save myself. I hope you're at peace now. I hope you know that your gift changed my life. Not just the money, though that helped, but the knowledge that I was loved, that I was worth something, that I deserved better than what I was accepting. You gave me that. So thank you. I love you too. I always did." A wind blew through the cemetery, warm and gentle, and I swear I felt him there just for a moment, telling me he understood. I went back home to my house, my paid-off, fully furnished, nobody-can-take-it-from-me house. Loretta was waiting on my porch with a sweet potato pie and gossip about Sister May's new boyfriend. Life was good. Not perfect. Life never is. But good. Real good. I was 73 years old, and I was finally, truly free. And you know what? Terrence still doesn't know about the money. Maybe someday I'll tell him. Or maybe I'll take that secret to my grave, just like Billy kept his love for me secret for 53 years. Some things are ours alone to keep. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.